Okay, this video is in response to a question I got on another video of mine on how to set up 2 amps in a wet-dry configuration, and the question was, can you use the HX effects to swap between the 2 amps, so only one is on at a time and then you flip to the other one, so very much like a 2-rig setup that a lot of famous guitarists use, like Eric Johnson for example, where he has one setup for his clean tone and a completely different one for his dirty tone. And this is how you do that using the HX effects. There are a number of ways to do it, but this I think is the most straightforward. And it's basically very similar to using the wet-dry configuration. So here I have a patch which is set up exactly as per my first video on wet-dry configurations, link to which is in the description below and appears on screen now. And it has 2 distinct paths. So the top line here, so Searchlights is a reverb setting, and Chorus, they are on what would normally be the wet amp, the wet path, and the bottom line, Fuzz, Spring Reverb and Bucket Brigade Delay on what would normally be the dry path. Okay, so if we have a look at the actual path, press the options button and signal flow, we can see that a compressor starts off the path, so that applies to both, and then what would be the dry path, we've got the fuzz, the delay and then the spring reverb. And on a separate path completely is the chorus and the reverb, the Searchlight reverb. So you can see we've got 2 distinct paths, and as per the wet-dry mix, they are going to different outputs. So one, the wet path is going to the main output, and the dry one is going to the send 1, 2. Okay, so that all works for the purposes of the 2 amp flip-flop setting, but what you need to do to change between 1 amp and the other is as follows. You navigate on the path to the split point here, that node there, and you'll see split Y comes up. We need to change that. So if we tap on that, we can see that it's perfectly balanced between the 2 paths A and B. But as I say, I want to change that. So press the big knob, change to split AB, press the big knob again. Now you notice what appears now is a route to option, which again is perfectly down the middle, so both paths will be having the same amount of signal. We want to assign this to either a controller or a foot switch. Now just to assign it to either, when that split AB is selected, press and hold your 1 button and controllers will come up. So it currently says controller none. If we change this to expression pedal 1, then any expression pedal attached, I don't think you can see it in shot, but I'll cut away in a second to demonstrate how it works. A external controller will control the path between the 2 amps, so it will gradually move from 1 amp to the other, so you can fade in amp 2 or fade it back out again as per your wishes with the controller. Now to assign it to a foot switch, and if you've noticed I left foot switch 1 blank on my preset here, you simply change this to whichever foot switch you want to use. As I left foot switch 1 blank, I'm going to assign it to FS1. Now you have 2 types of foot switch controller here. You have a latch type, which means every time you press it, it switches, or you have a moment, which means it only switches when you hold it down. So it makes more sense on a 2 amp setup to have it as latch, but obviously there may be applications where you want the moment, but we're going to have latch. And then if we press mode exit, you will now see that the route to button appears. This now allows you to switch between 2 amps, as I will now demonstrate. And of course you could use this same arrangement without necessarily having 2 amps. You could use just a single amp and have the 2 different paths with radically different sounds that you wanted to toggle between, and it would work just as well.